Now, Brooke will be on the program later on after dinner, but my job is to introduce a few people. First of all, let me introduce the dinner sponsors tonight. We have Holly and Doug Deason. Where are you? You're someplace. Oh, here you are, right here. Holly and Doug Deason, thank you. We have Stacy and Joel Hawk. Is Joel still in the air from Austin? All right, almost here. And Becca and Mark Stupful. I just saw you a minute ago. Becca and Mark? Oh, right there. Thank you so much. And thank all of you for being here and supporting TPPF for all these years. You know, with all of your help and with Brooke's wonderful leadership, this organization has really made a difference. And I want you to come by and visit our new building in Austin, and you will see that freedom really is taking hold in Austin, Texas. And indeed, we're exporting our ideas and our work to other states, and even doing some work in our federal city, Washington, D.C., as my husband used to say, the devil's city, right? But anyway, and internationally. So it's with your help. So I want to thank you for all of that. We are making a difference, and we will continue to do so. We're not going to rest on our laurels, because Texas is a place that is exceptional. We are a place where people came here to found a state based on the principles of freedom, of liberty, of free enterprise. And you know what? That's what our founding fathers of this country did as well. And we're making sure at TPPF that we will advance those founding principles and keep our country and our state free. So thank you so much with help on that. Now, let me also introduce Colonel Alan West, who will give our invocation tonight. Colonel Alan West is a retired lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Army and served 22 years, and then represented the people of Florida in Congress for, I guess in 2010 was when you were there. 2010. And now he's CEO and president of the National Center for Policy Analysis here in Dallas. So thank you. He's going to give our indication. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And before we go to the Lord asking for a blessing, I want every one of us to understand what happens next week. Next week is very significant for this great nation, because before the Tennessee Volunteers, and I'm an alumni of that university, came here to fight for liberty beside the great Texans to stand against tyranny, men took the battlefield at Lexington Green and Concord Bridge. And men and women have continued to take the battlefield for the past 239 years so that we can sit here in this beautiful presidential library and enjoy the blessings of freedom and liberty. Next week on Tuesday is the 240th birthday of probably the greatest fighting force that the world has ever known, the United States Marine Corps. And if you are a Marine, please stand and be recognized. And then the following day, we remember that day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, when the guns fell silent in World War I, and it was called Armistice Day in the beginning. Now we know it as Veterans Day. If you are a veteran of the armed forces of the United States of America, please stand so we can recognize you. Now, if you are a freedom-loving American, let us bow our heads and go to the person that gives us our spiritual liberty. Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for bringing all of us together tonight. These are truly times which try men's souls, when the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink away from the duties. But to the people that are gathered here tonight, The people that are willing to make the service and sacrifice and commitment to this incredible land that you have given to us, they will deserve the love and admiration of all future generations. Because you have given us this great land of opportunity. You have blessed us with the beacon of liberty and freedom and democracy. And the fact that we have these gathered individuals that will continue to stand here in the great state of Texas and all across America to make sure that we pass on those blessings that you have given to us to our subsequent generations. We're so thankful for you. And Lord Jesus, we ask that you will bless the food that we're about to receive. Bless the people that prepared this meal for us. But make sure that it strengthens us so that we may go out, as you once told Joshua, to be strong and of good courage. For you, the Lord our God, shall never leave us nor forsake us. And let all God's children say, amen. Thank you.
On behalf of our indefatigable board chair, Wendy Graham, who is fabulous, Wendy, thank you for all you do. Our other board members who are here tonight, the fantastic Ernie Angelo, the fabulous Kyle Stallings, Tim Dunn, Rick Fletcher, and Stacy Hawk. Will you all please stand? These are the leaders of our organization who do such an amazing job. I hope I didn't forget anyone. Thank you all for all you do. Thank you. I also want to introduce, we have some fantastic legislators here with us. We actually have a lot of you guys tonight, which is kind of awesome. I'm going to go through the list, and we are going to hold our applause until the end, but please stand when you're called, and you are allowed to give a little whoop if you're at that person's table. All right, Representative Dwayne Burns, Representative Angie Chin Button, Representative Travis Clardy, Representative Pat Fallon, who we'll be hearing from more, Representative Craig Goldman, Senator Bob Hall, Senator Don Huffines, Representative Brian Hughes, Representative Stephanie Click, Representative Linda Coop, Representative Matt Krause, Representative Tan Parker, Senator Charles Perry, Representative Matt Shaheen, Representative Ron Simmons, Representative David Simpson, Senator Van Taylor, Representative Jason Viaba, Representative Bill Zedler, Congressman John Ratcliffe. This is kind of cool. We're so happy to have you. Of course, our fabulous Attorney General Ken Paxton is here. And the wonderful Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is in the room. Thank you. When this foundation, thank you all for being here. When this foundation was established in 1989 by a group of intrepid visionaries, it was nearly a different Texas. It was a different America, and indeed a different world. For those of us of a certain age, it seems like just yesterday, but yet those visionaries of 1989 were actually closer to the Great Society, Reagan's A Time for Choosing address, the moon landing, than we are to them. Truly, the Texas Public Policy Foundation has endured for a very long time. 26 years is not just a number, it is a period spanning a generation long enough that young men and young women are working among our ranks as scholars and advocates now who have never known any world except one in which this organization has been at the front lines of freedom. And that's a victory in itself, but there are a lot more victories in those 26 years. We have changed the conversation on federal funds and state governance. We have changed the conversation on climate change. We have revived the idea of state sovereignty. Something maybe you do not know is that a current candidate for President of the United States launched our 10th Amendment Center about 6 years ago by the name of Ted Cruz. Today, I have a few Ted Cruz fans. We have changed the conversation on education freedom and on private property rights and on almost every important issue that is currently facing our country. But in my opinion, one of the best things we have been able to do is establish a spirit of entrepreneurialism and independence that has made Texas a home for all those from all places with a heart for effort and endeavor. I want to point out on your table is a little ornament, so sort of find your little gift. It's pretty cool. Do not leave it here because while I love it, I do not want it to decorate my entire Christmas tree. But I want to tell you a little bit about these ornaments. They are the work and the gift of a man by the name of Marshall Smith, a small businessman out of Taylor, Texas, who runs Lonesome Ranch Leather and believes in freedom and believes in liberty and believes in entrepreneurialism and believes in the Texas Public Policy Foundation. Mr. Smith created these ornaments for all of you for tonight to mark this occasion of the 26th anniversary of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. And why I will send along your regards. He created them for all of us this evening because he believes, and as a testimony to the Lone Star liberty that makes all great things possible, risk and reward both, a life of meaning for the least and the greatest among us. The outcomes of that approach, what we used to call the American dream, are evident in the numbers. Texas has a lower proportion of poverty, a better record of job creation, better outcomes on social inequality than every other state in this country. And that is a testament to the power of the free market and freedom and conservative values. And we should be very proud. Of course, all this is just the beginning. The Texas Public Policy Foundation and my wonderful team that happens to be with us tonight, these people have led in almost every field, from the environment to healthcare to economic freedom, and we will continue to do that on your behalf, on Texas's behalf, and on the behalf of the great American dream that we believe is still alive and well today and residing in our state. All of this is sustained and promulgated by an amazing team at TPPF, and I want to talk just briefly because, as we all know, Margaret Thatcher said, if you want to win the election, you have to win the debate. And to win the debate, you have to be in the fight. And so let me tell you what we're doing. This organization, our tiny little feisty think tank in Austin, Texas, we have about 53 or so employees, not that big, but we have been in the media this year almost 7,000 different times. An aggregate audience of over 1 billion people have heard the ideas and the stories and the research of the analysts and the scholars at the Texas Public Policy Foundation. We have produced more than 500 opinion pieces, but while these are impressive numbers, they're really only just numbers. But when I tell you that as a policy team in Texas, that this organization and these people wake up every day believing we have the best job in the world, because every day we get to fight for freedom, we fight for liberty, and we fight for the great state of Texas. What a gift it is. Before I turn it over to my great friend, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, I just want to make a couple of comparisons with our friends in Washington, D.C. The truth is that in the last decade, 2 decades, Texas has gotten better, but we all know the other side, that Washington, D.C. has gotten worse. I said that 1989 was nearly a foreign country, being so far removed in the past. And when the visionaries who established this organization came together for their singular purpose, understanding that we had to defend liberty in the Lone Star State, but they could not have then foreseen, because no one could have in 1989, was just how much would be needed to defend America at large. In the 26 years since this organization's creation, here's what has happened in our great country. In 1989, the federal debt was just under $3 trillion. Today, it's 18 trillion, a 600% increase. In 1989, federal debt held by the public as a percentage of GDP was 40%. Today, it's 70%. In 1989, an average American family of four was burdened with about $60,000 in debt. Not great by any stretch of the imagination, but there's what the number was. In 2015, that figure is $226,000 of federal debt per family of four. In 1989, the federal government did not seek to run the American healthcare system, 1/6 of our national economy. In 2015, it does. In 1989, the federal government did not seek to control the entirety of the American energy generation. In 2015, it does. And in 1989, the federal government and its allies at all levels did not, as a rule, leak private donor lists, as ours was leaked by the IRS a couple years ago, send SWAT teams against partisan foes, indict governors to hobble their electoral prospects, or conduct partisan investigations of its political foes. In 2015, it does. This, then, is the challenge before us. If Texas was the creation of the best of the American spirit, and if the American dream has found its last refuge and bastion in the Lone Star State, then the task before us is to leverage our work for Texas into work for America. The debt that we as Texans owe America will only be repaid when we have reintroduced America to its best self, which just happens to be everything Texas is today. And what a blessing to be able to have that incredible honor to do just that. Before I introduce Governor Patrick, one other quick anecdote. Most of you know the story of the battles of Lexington and Concord that opened the American Revolution, with brave farmers and ordinary people who stood up to the might of a king and his empire. What many do not know is what happened just a day later when a messenger brought the momentous news to one General George Washington that the war, long feared, had finally begun. Washington could have asked 1,000 questions at this news. Who won? What were the dispositions of the British forces around Boston? What were the casualties? What new action is expected next? All these and more would have been perfectly reasonable inquiries to make at the opening of the war for American independence. But George Washington asked none of those questions. Instead, he asked the messenger one simple question. He said, "Did the militia fight?" Being assured that they had, George Washington simply replied, "Then the liberties of the country are safe." George Washington understood that the liberties and independence of America were first and foremost in the hearts of our people, and secured by people who were willing to stand and be counted in that defense. That was true in 1775, it was true in 1836, it was true in 1989, and stands true today in 2015. And let me tell you this, that there is no one today that I trust more, rely upon more, count more in those numbers than the current Lieutenant Governor of Texas. Please help me welcome our wonderful Dan Patrick.
Thank you all. Please sit down. Thank you so much. It is great to be back. It's been a busy day. We started in Lubbock this afternoon for a speech to the Texas Federation of Republican Women. I was in Arlington an hour ago giving a speech to a 40th anniversary of a Republican club. In a suit, I changed the tux in the car, and we came in the back door. I think the tie's okay. My wife, Jan, many of you know, would be here tonight, except we moved this week. And right now, I'm so glad to be here because I'd be doing shelf lining in the kitchen. Ladies understand that. My wife, we've been married 40 years. And I'm a little confused because she continues to tell me, because those of you who know her, she looks fabulous. She continues to tell me she's 39. Now, the only thing she has in common with Barack Obama is I can't find her birth certificate or his. That's the only thing we have in common. It is a great honor to be here. I want our senators who are here, once again, they've been introduced. I want you to stand. Senators, please stand. Don, Van, Bob. For those of you who may not know, there are 31 senators, 20 Republicans, 11 Democrats. It's not a partisan issue. I'm just giving you numbers. And we had 8 freshmen Republicans out of 20, and we had 5 sophomores. That's 14 freshmen and sophomores out of 20 members, and a new lieutenant governor, and a new attorney general, and a new land commissioner, and a new ag commissioner. No state in our country has ever changed parties totally from top to bottom. You've had Democrats sweep out Republicans, Republicans sweep out Democrats, but in this case, Texas went from all Republicans to all Republicans. So the question was, how would it all work? Well, first of all, I'm the first senator to be elected lieutenant governor since the 1960s, so I had 8 years in the Senate, which helped me greatly, know the people, know the issues, know the rules. And I understood what senators wanted out of a leader. They wanted to be given responsibility and left on their own because they're all smart people and they're all hard workers. Some say this was the most productive session in the history of the Senate, clearly the most conservative. And if that's true, I give my senators here tonight and every one of our senators tremendous credit because they stepped up and did a great job. 8 freshmen and 6 freshman chairmen, and that's a big responsibility. So again, members, thank you for being here tonight. I want to talk about why you're here tonight and why it's important to support Texas Public Policy Foundation, built on 3 guiding principles, that being liberty, personal responsibility, and free enterprise. It's so important because, quite frankly, those who oppose free enterprise and liberty and personal responsibility, and make no mistake, many in America oppose all 3 of those principles and values. We're outgunned financially. We're outgunned with manpower in Austin. And as conservatives in the Senate and members of the House, the conservatives who are here tonight, if it were not for Texas Public Policy Foundation, our job would be so much more difficult. They give us the research to be confident in the high ground that we take on the public policy positions. And that's the key to leadership, it's the key to success, the 4 Ps. And that's preparation, it's position, it's potential, and performance. You can't win a battle unless you are prepared, unless you have the high ground, your position. Alan West knows this from being in the military. Unless you see the potential and then you perform. We can't do it alone. We meet for 140 days every other year. There are 150 House members and 31 senators. Our budget is $209 billion. Compare that to other states. Oklahoma, $10 billion, Louisiana, $8 billion. Do you realize the Texas economy is the 12th largest in the world? 1 behind Canada, 1 ahead of Australia. So we need a strong support team to make sure that we do not lose our focus on liberty and personal responsibility and free enterprise, but also so that we have the tools we need, so we are prepared, that we do have the position, that we see the potential and we perform. Your dollars and your support are extremely significant. I don't know what we would do without them. And make no mistake, and I told the ladies, there were about 500 ladies I spoke to today at lunch and 100 or so folks at Arlington last hour, and I'll share this with you. Sometimes you may think, I'm just one person, what do I accomplish? Am I really making a difference? As a lieutenant governor, I ask myself that question. But I can tell you the people in this room make a significant difference. Not just for Dallas or Houston or San Antonio or Texas, but for the entire world. The entire world is in chaos. Read the headlines, watch Fox News. You know what's happening. The world needs, even though they say they don't at times, because they're jealous of us, they need a strong America. After all, when they get in trouble, they dial 911 and they expect the United States Marine Corps, the U.S. Navy, the American Air Force, the American taxpayer, and the U.S. Navy to bail their butt out. And what do? We send men, we send women, we send our treasure for liberty. And we ask nothing except a small patch of ground to bury our dead. We are a great nation that has been set back for the last decade. We cannot have a great nation without a strong military, and you can't have a strong military without a strong economy, and you can't have a strong economy without strong conservative public policy in this nation. And so the world depends on a strong America, and America depends on a strong Texas. Are we going to count on California? They're in the tank. I don't know how they ever get out. Are we going to count on New York or Illinois or Ohio? Ohio's actually done pretty well. But as in terms of a big state, we're it. Our friend Donna Campbell, senator from San Antonio, likes to say there's not another Texas to move to. Where would you go? 650 people a day are moving here. Here's an interesting fact. Remember in 2000 when George Bush became president and that guy was, look at that hanging Chad in Miami? You remember that? See that video? That was 15 years ago. There were 18 million of us. Today, there are 27 million of us. 9 million people in 15 years have come to Texas. And our state demographers tell us by 2035, there will be another 12 to 15 million of us. That means from the year 2000 to the year 2035, we will have gone from a state of 18 million to over 40 million people. And why are they coming here? Because they see in Texas the America that they remember growing up in, that has been lost in almost every state. They come in here for opportunity. They come in here because in the four things that government do, educate, medicate, incarcerate, regulate, we do it pretty well. Tort reform, major public policy, conservative initiative that changed our economy, brings 4,000 doctors a year here to Texas. And you know why? Because tort reform lowered malpractice insurance by almost 80%. And a doctor in Arizona stopped me and Rick Perry one night at a restaurant last fall and said, "Thank you, Governor Perry, for passing tort reform. My wife and I are both doctors. We're paying $70,000 apiece for malpractice insurance in Arizona, and here in Texas, it's less than $10,000 each." So public policy is important, but it comes at a price. We had a big battle in Houston. I don't know if you know, I live in Houston when I'm not in Austin. We had a big battle with the left, who has other ideas. They wanted men to be able to go into ladies' room. I don't usually get involved in local politics. I spent about $50,000 in that race, ran 400 commercials, joined with the church community, joined with others, and 61% of the voters in Houston said, no, men don't belong in the ladies' room. That's public policy. That's personal responsibility. And because had that ordinance passed, businesses would have been fined $5,000 if they stopped a man from going in a ladies' room. That's also about free enterprise. So make no mistake, there are people in this country that are misguided, they're confused, they're lost. And you know what? I hope they see the light. I hope they come on board. But I can't take the chance for my 4 grandchildren and your grandchildren and your children and my children that they will. So we have to lead. And so America needs to be strong, and Texas must lead. We are it, a nation state. We need leaders who have the vision of the future, who are willing to make the tough decisions today. So often politicians step back and say, I don't want to cast this vote today. I know it will be good for us 20 years from now, but my voters may not like me now. With another 15 million people coming, we have a lot of work to do, a lot of opportunities. Panama Canal is going to give us great opportunities. Our ports already create almost $300 billion a year in our economy. But if we don't dredge our ports, widen our ports, if we don't have the rail, if we don't have the transportation to take advantage of all that, all those Panamax ships are going to pass and go to the East Coast, costing us thousands of jobs and impacting our economy. If we don't have the next president who understands the oil and gas industry is the backbone of our country and the backbone of this state, we will be in trouble. And if we don't have a president who understands the border must be secure to protect us from terrorists and criminals, and if we don't have a Congress in Washington that will finally solve the immigration issue and have legal immigration where people can come to in America, then we are in trouble. And so we have a voice in Texas. For the first time, on March 1st, we're going to have a chance to vote for a president, by the way, and really make a difference. Usually it's already decided. So we need Texas Public Policy Foundation to be the wind at our back. We need them to help us have a successful session so that we can show the rest of the world, the rest of the country, that conservative policy does work. That's why we created more jobs than other states combined over about an 8-year period. That's why the people are moving here. That's why even with the downturn in oil, our economy is still doing well. It's conservative public policy and principles. I don't want us to be California. They don't have TPPF in California. I'm glad you all are here. So, if you're new to us, please understand, all of us, I want every member of the House and Senate to stand up for one brief second. Stand back. Every member of the House and Senate. Do we need a strong, conservative public policy foundation to help us do our jobs? The answer is yes. We can only be effective with them, and they can only be effective if they have you. So thank you. I don't want to put too much pressure on you. It's just the future of your grandchildren. And will they have the opportunity to live in the great country that we've lived in? And will we do what our parents did, hand over that baton of peace and prosperity to the next generation? That's our job. They'll help us do it. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you, Governor Patrick. I wanted him to stay here for just a minute, so we have a quick little presentation, maybe two of them. But you'll appreciate I was writing on the back of my valet card, which is what this is, the 2015 for this organization. We launched a litigation center, which we said we are no longer going to let the left control the courts and let the other side use the courts to put forward their agenda. We are going to fight back. And so we launched the Center for the American Future. We built a little building in Austin. You guys should come visit. It's kind of cool. We hit $9 million in revenue for our annual budget, money raised. We expanded our audience to 1 billion people. We saw a legislative session, thanks to so many of the legislators here tonight, that cut taxes, that passed a budget that left money on the table. I'm not sure if you realize how unusual this is for elected officials to leave money on the table, but they did it in Texas, and I am so, so proud of them. We continue to lead on criminal justice, and this is why I want Governor Patrick to stay up here with me, because 10 years ago, thanks to Tim Dunn and a great vision that conservatives have it wrong on criminal justice, and instead of building prisons, we need to fix the system, and we need to provide better opportunities and keep communities safer and families together, and change occupational licensing so people can get jobs once they leave prison and lead a productive life. And we've had a great run of it. The model passed in Texas is now in 36 states. And Washington, D.C. is currently debating the same thing right now. But this last session, there was a citizen activist who is here with us tonight, very successful businessman by the name of Doug Deason, great supporter of our work, who decided that something needed to change, that there were some laws in the criminal justice system that weren't right and that didn't provide a better opportunity for those who are least fortunate but are trying to make a better life for themselves. And let me tell you what Doug did in one simple sentence. For several million Texans this last legislative session, he gave them their dreams back. He saw a need, and he threw himself wholeheartedly into the fight for real criminal justice reform this last session. He put everything into the effort. He left his business. He left his beautiful wife, Holly. He went to Austin. He testified at 2 in the morning. He met with probably all the legislators in here, maybe even multiple times. He didn't give up, and he, along with our team at TPPF, were successful. And the liberty that is defended best when we defend one another is what we do here in the state of Texas. We got that bill passed, one of many bills, but that bill did not have Doug's name on it. That bill did not get him invited to a big signing ceremony. That bill did not benefit him or his family. It was just the right thing to do. So tonight, I want to recognize Doug and his wife Holly for what they have done for the state of Texas, for those least fortunate, as the Lone Star champion. Hey, Doug, come up here. To our offices in Austin, you will see his name on. Terry, thank you, Terry. Terry fixed it for us. This is amazing. Thank you, Terry. So tonight I want to recognize his beautiful wife who's come all the way from Houston to be with us with a plaque that we will be hanging at 901 Congress that talks about Terry's life, his loves, including his beautiful wife, Billie Jean, and what he worked to accomplish in his life. So please help me thank Billie Jean and love to our sweet Terry above.
They want to get a photograph.
Oh, a picture.
I would have put my lipstick on.
Y'all are a great audience. I love all the standing up. This is fabulous. Be great. Well, let me say this in closing. We are so grateful. What a wonderful evening this has been. What a fabulous celebration of 26 years. Thank you so much for everyone for coming out and being with us tonight. Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Coach Holtz, Colonel West, Representative Fallon, General Paxton, all of our great friends in the legislature, all of you who support and sustain this great work. I'm so appreciative of so many of your friendship and counsel and guidance and investment. I have had, as I mentioned at the beginning, the tremendous honor of leading this organization for more than 13 years. And we have come so far. It's so humbling to think that 13 years ago, we were a 4-person office based out of San Antonio, Texas. And today, we have become a major national and in some regards, even international force out of Austin and beyond. And it's really because of all of you and so many of you who sustain our work, and we're so grateful. We've never done this before, so please forgive me, but I'm told it's really important to do. On your table, if you're so inclined, are pledge cards, and we would love your support. So many of you are new to this effort that are here tonight. If you believe, as we do, that the freedom of this country is at stake, we would love your support. Let me close with a few thoughts and where we're going. This evening isn't just a celebration of an anniversary of a feisty public policy group out of Austin. Exactly 31 years ago today, 31 years ago, America had a very good evening indeed as Ronald Reagan swept to a landslide re-election victory in 49 of 50 states. It was a triumphant vindication of the Reagan agenda, of which Senator Graham was a key part, and it was also the last of the landslide elections that used to characterize presidential contests. Reagan had coattails too. His party gained 16 seats in the U.S. House, and despite losing 2 seats in the Senate, retained a 54-seat majority that night. Out in the states, the Republicans even increased the number of governorships from 15 to 16. That was what counted for a pretty good election night back in the 1980s. And you know, there's no reason we still love Reagan every day and talk about him. And as you leave tonight, we have a special gift for you, H.W. Brand's new book on Reagan that was just released. He's personally signed all of them for all of you who have come. So when you walk out, he actually was just at our office a couple days ago doing a book signing and talking about the book. It's the newest book on the market about a great man, Ronald Reagan, and we want to share that work with you this evening. Part of what you're going to also receive is the chapter to a new book that the Texas Public Policy Foundation, under the authorship of our own Kathleen Hartnett-White, will be releasing. We hope it to become a bestseller, called Fueling Freedom and Making the Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. A chapter of that book will also be included when you're leaving. And because we know that while this last Tuesday, it wasn't election day, it was an off year, so we didn't pay too close attention, but with the various outcomes, we can begin to put things in perspective. I spoke to you earlier this evening about Washington, D.C. getting worse as Texas gets better, but that wasn't the whole picture, because across the nation, led by Texas and the Lone Star example, nearly all the states are getting better. You know that we are not a partisan organization. TPPF is a 501c3, but we can use the partisanship in the political elections as a metric for our ideology and what's happening out across our country. Since the current administration assumed the presidency at the state level and below, the party that stands most closely for big government, diminished liberty, and reduced prosperity has suffered catastrophic losses unmatched in any era. Since 2008, the side for big government and the welfare state has lost 13 U.S. Senate seats, 69 congressional seats, 12 governorships, and over 900 state legislative seats. Putting it differently, the president's party only now controls 11 state legislatures, 18 governorships, and just 7 state governments as a whole. Simply put, the current agenda of big government, of the welfare state, of higher taxes, of all of the above that has been put out there since 2009 has now suffered for it at nearly every level. And other than the resurgent states, other than those on the left coast and the Northeast, it is a devastating reduction in numbers unmatched by any other president. This isn't indicative of a partisan outcome, and to interpret it as such is to miss the deeper point and why we're all here tonight. This is properly understood as the American people reacting against Washington, D.C. It means they understand what's been happening, and it means we, the champions of liberty and the states under the Constitution, are winning the argument. But it also means that the other party, increasingly a party of DC and interest for its own sake, will do everything in its power to diminish the states and their prerogatives. We've seen it already and we'll see it again, but we'll be ready. And that's what the Texas Public Policy Foundation stands for. That's why we were established 26 years ago. An entire generation has gone. And it's why we'll be around for generations to come. Because the old saying is right, that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance. And with men and women like you all to sustain us, we are glad to stand that watch. Thank you so much. God bless Texas, and God bless this great country. Have a wonderful evening.